My best friend of 15 years slept with my husband, then blamed me for not pleasuring him enough. So I sent her boss this hidden evidence she didn't know I had, and I woke up to 27 missed calls of her begging me to do this. So my husband Trevor, male, 36, and my best friend Sarah, female, 34, have been having an affair, behind my back, for 3 months. I can't even type that without feeling like I'm going to throw up all over again. Sarah and I met during freshman orientation at college. We were randomly assigned as roommates, and at first I thought we'd hate each other. She was this super outgoing party girl, and I was more studious. But somehow, we just clicked. She got me out of my shell, and I helped keep her from failing out. We've been inseparable for 15 years. When my dad died suddenly junior year, Sarah slept on my dorm room floor for 2 weeks straight because I kept having panic attacks at night. And when Jake dumped her senior year after 3 years together, and after she found out he'd been cheating, I was the one who held her while she cried and helped her pack up all his stuff. I should have seen the irony there, I guess. Sarah was my maid of honor at my wedding to Trevor 7 years ago. She talked about how she knew he was the one for me because of how he looked at me when I wasn't paying attention. I'm seriously going to be sick typing this. Anyway, Trevor's been acting weird for months. Always on his phone and getting all jumpy if I walked in the room, coming home late from work, making up excuses to not do our regular date night. I seriously thought it was just stress from work because he got passed over for this big promotion he was sure he was getting. I was trying to be understanding, like a good wife would be. God, I'm such an idiot. At the same time, Sarah started coming over more and more. She said things at work were getting super stressful. She's a compliance officer at Capital Trust Bank, and she needed friend time. We'd have wine nights like twice a week while Trevor was working late. She'd vent about work, and I'd listen and try to give advice. Sometimes she'd get really cryptic about some big issues at work, but would never give details. Then yesterday happened. I was supposed to be at this work event until like 9 p.m., but it wrapped up early around 7. I didn't text Trevor because I thought I'd surprise him with takeout from his favorite Thai place. I thought maybe we could finally have a nice night together without him being distracted. When I got home, his car and Sarah's car were in the driveway. I wasn't even suspicious at first. I literally thought, oh cool, Sarah's here too, we can all hang out. I walked in and the house seemed empty, but then I heard noises from our guest bathroom. Those kind of noises. I walked toward the bathroom because I heard Sarah's laugh. Her laugh. That's what I recognized first. I froze in the hallway because my brain couldn't process what was happening. And then I heard Trevor say her name. Not mine, hers. My hand was shaking so bad when I pushed open the door. And there they were, my husband and my best friend, in my house, in my guest bathroom. They tried to cover themselves, but it was so obvious what they'd been doing. Sarah tried to tell me it wasn't what it looked like, which was ridiculous because it was exactly what it looked like. Trevor just stared at the floor and said nothing. Nothing. I backed away and knocked over this vase Trevor's mom gave us. It shattered everywhere, but I didn't even care. Sarah got dressed and tried to follow me, grabbing my arm, and I lost it. I started screaming at both of them. Trevor finally admitted they'd been sleeping together for 3 months. All those times he was working late or she was coming over for girl time when he was supposedly at the gym. All lies. And then Sarah blamed me. She said if I satisfied Trevor in bed, he wouldn't have needed her. I couldn't breathe when she said that. Just 2 weeks ago, I had told her I was worried about intimacy issues with Trevor. I cried to her about it, and she knew she was the reason why. The worst part is that Sarah kept going. She said she'd always been jealous of my life, my marriage, my house, my job, which is crazy because she's always bragging about her success. She's always been the confident one, while I've always felt like I was just barely keeping it together. After they both left, I told them to get the F out of my house. They've been blowing up my phone with texts. Both of them are somehow trying to make this partially my fault. Trevor saying he felt ignored because of my work schedule. Sarah saying our friendship had been one-sided for years, with me always needing her support. During the argument, Sarah said something weird though. She mentioned some situation at work that could ruin everything. It made me remember something I had forgotten about. About 6 months ago, Sarah came over super drunk after some work event. Trevor was out of town, and she was upset about work stuff. She showed me some documents, compliance reports or something, and was talking about how certain wealthy clients were getting special treatment and bypassing regulations. She was so drunk that I actually took pictures of the documents on my phone, thinking I could help her sort through whatever was stressing her out when she was sober. But the next day, she acted like she didn't remember showing me anything, and I got busy with work and forgot about it until now. I'm sitting in a hotel room right now, going through my phone, deleting pictures of Sarah and Trevor, and I just found those photos of the documents. I don't even know what they mean exactly, but given everything that's happened, I'm wondering if they're more important than I realized. I don't know what to do now. I feel completely betrayed by the two people I trusted most in this world. Edit. Thank you for all the supportive comments. To answer some questions. Yes, I've already contacted a lawyer about divorce proceedings. No, I have not looked closely at the compliance documents yet. I'm still processing the affair part of this nightmare. Edit 2. A lot of people are asking if there were signs I missed. Looking back, there probably were. Trevor changed his phone password a few months ago, claimed he had to for work security reasons. Sarah would sometimes get text messages and turn her phone over really quick when we were hanging out. They would sometimes have these inside jokes I wasn't part of. God, I feel so stupid now. Edit 3. For those asking about our living situation, yes, it's my house too. Both our names are on the mortgage. I'm staying at a hotel for now because I can't stand being in that house knowing what they did there. And no, I don't think this was just a one-time thing. Trevor admitted it had been going on for months. Now, for the first update, I know this is going to be a mess of a post because I'm typing this at 3 a.m. after not sleeping for like 2 days, so sorry in advance. Thank you to everyone who commented on my last post. I honestly didn't expect so many people to respond and offer support. It's been a week. Actually, more than a week now. I don't even know what day it is anymore, honestly. I spent 3 days in that hotel room, barely eating, just staring at the wall and crying. I couldn't go back to the house. Our house. Every time I thought about going back there, I just kept seeing them together in that bathroom, and I'd start hyperventilating all over again. Like I literally couldn't breathe thinking about it. I kept having these awful flashbacks of walking in and seeing them, and it was bad. I found a small month-to-month rental apartment. It's basically a shoebox with a kitchenette. Seriously, you can practically touch both walls if you stand in the middle with your arms out. But at least it's mine, and neither of them have ever been there. My coworker Kim helped me grab some essentials from the house when Trevor was at work. I still need to figure out what to do with all our stuff, but I just can't deal with that right now. There's so much stuff after 7 years together, you know? Like we got 3 waffle makers for some reason. Who needs 3 waffle makers? But I'm getting off track. Trevor has been... He keeps switching between begging me to forgive him and then turning around and blaming me for the affair. Like yesterday, he sent this long text about how he made the biggest mistake of his life and would do anything to fix us, and then literally 2 hours later sent another one saying if I wasn't so obsessed with my job and emotionally unavailable, then maybe he wouldn't have sought comfort elsewhere. I'm a marketing director, not a freaking brain surgeon. My job is demanding, but it's not like I'm never home. And even if I was working 80 hours a week, that doesn't give him permission to sleep with my best friend. I can't even with his logic. Like, what planet is he living on where this makes sense? And Sarah, God, I don't even know where to start. She sent me probably 50 texts that are all over the place. 1 minute she's sobbing about how sorry she is. The next, she's saying our friendship has been uneven. For years with me, taking more than giving. Then she'll text me like nothing happened, asking if I've watched the new season of that show we used to watch together. Like, are you serious right now? Did you hit your head and forget you were screwing my husband for 3 months? Oh, and get this. She had the nerve to text me about returning this sweater I borrowed from her like 6 months ago. A sweater. I think I actually laughed out loud when I got that text because it was so absurd. But here's where things get even crazier. Remember those compliance documents I mentioned? The ones Sarah showed me when she was drunk. Well, I was going through my phone deleting pictures of her and Trevor, and I found those photos. I looked at them more closely this time, and holy shit. So Sarah works in compliance at Capital Trust Bank, right? These documents show she's been falsifying reports for some super wealthy clients so they could bypass anti-money laundering checks. Like straight up illegal stuff. I'm not a banking expert or anything, but even I could see what she was doing, changing numbers, removing red flags, basically helping rich people hide money they probably shouldn't have. And based on the dates I could see, this had been going on for at least a year. I sat on this information for days. Part of me felt like using it would make me just as bad as her, like two wrongs don't make a right and all that. And this wasn't just petty revenge. This could literally ruin her career and maybe even send her to jail. But then I kept thinking about how she knew I was worried about intimacy issues with Trevor while she was actively sleeping with him. And I kept going back and forth about what to do. I know I'm probably not the most objective person right now, given everything that's happened. Maybe in normal circumstances, I would have handled this differently. But these aren't normal circumstances, and I'm not exactly thinking clearly these days. I mean, how can anyone think clearly when their entire life just exploded? But then Trevor showed up at my work. I was coming back from lunch, with Kim actually. She's been amazing through all this. And there he was, standing in the lobby. I asked him to leave, but he refused, saying we needed to talk about our future. What future? Kim offered to call security, but I thought maybe I could handle it without making a scene. I was wrong. So wrong. He started raising his voice, saying I was throwing away 7 years over one mistake. Mistake. Like he accidentally put the wrong toppings on a pizza or something. Not like he deliberately carried on a 3-month affair with my best friend. Who does that? Who cheats with their wife's best friend? I still can't wrap my head around it. Then my boss came out of the elevator and saw the whole thing. I wanted to die of embarrassment right there on the spot. Trevor was going on about how Sarah didn't mean anything, and it was just physical, which somehow made it worse, not better. Like, thanks for confirming you threw away our marriage for something that didn't mean anything. You absolute doorknob. By this point, everyone was staring, and I could feel myself starting to cry, which made me so angry because I did not want to cry at work. Security finally came and asked him to leave, and as they were escorting him out, he yelled that I was being dramatic. Dramatic. After he showed up at my workplace to make a scene, I was so humiliated I could barely look at anyone for the rest of the day. My boss tried to be nice about it, but I could tell everyone was talking about it. I hate that this is happening. I hate it so much. I went home that night and just sat in my new apartment. I adopted a cat from the shelter last weekend. Her name is Luna. She's super affectionate and sleeps on my pillow, which is oddly comforting. I kept thinking about those documents on my phone. Look, I'm not normally a vindictive person. Ask anyone who knows me. I'm usually the one giving people second chances when they don't deserve them. I've forgiven Trevor for so much smaller stuff over the years. Nothing like this, obviously. I mean, I even forgave him when he forgot my birthday 2 years ago and then tried to make it up by buying me a blender because he said our old one was too loud. A blender. For my birthday. And I still forgave him for that. But after he showed up at my workplace and humiliated me in front of everyone, something in me just snapped. Finally, I just did it. I compiled everything, wrote a detailed email explaining when and how I got the documents, leaving out the part about Sarah being drunk, and sent it to Sarah's direct supervisor and the chief compliance officer at Capital Trust from an anonymous email account. I felt sick after I sent it, but also kind of, I don't know, powerful. For the first time in this whole situation, I was actually doing something instead of just crying and feeling sorry for myself. After I sent it, I turned off my phone. I couldn't deal with any more problems. I just needed silence. I spent 2 days just existing, going to work, coming home, petting Luna, watching mindless TV, and trying not to think about anything. When I finally turned my phone back on, there were 27 missed calls from Sarah. 27. A dozen from Trevor too, but I didn't care about those. There were so many texts from Sarah. Why aren't you answering? We need to talk. Something terrible has happened at work. I think someone reported me. Did you say something? Please call me back. I'm about to lose everything. I need your help. They're saying I could face criminal charges. Jessica, please, I'm begging you. I know I made a mistake with Trevor, but this is my career. You have no idea what you've done. And then I got an email from someone named Thomas Harold saying he's the head of internal investigations at Capital Trust Bank, and he wanted to speak with me about the information I provided. I finally answered one of Sarah's calls yesterday. She immediately started crying, begging me to tell the bank there was a misunderstanding about the documents. She said she's been put on leave pending an investigation and could lose her job, maybe even face criminal charges. I don't remember exactly what she said because honestly, I was kind of in shock that she had the audacity to ask me for help after what she did. She mentioned something about following orders from higher-ups and needing extra money for student loans. I don't know. She wasn't making much sense. Part of me felt satisfied. Is that terrible? After everything she's done to me, seeing her face consequences felt right. But another part of me feels guilty. Did I go too far? Am I just as bad as her now? I mean, what she did at work was wrong and illegal, regardless of what happened between us personally. So maybe I would have reported it anyway. But I know that's not true. I wouldn't have looked twice at those documents if she hadn't slept with Trevor. I don't know what's wrong with me. One minute I'm feeling justified, and the next I'm feeling like the worst person ever. This isn't who I am. I've never wanted to hurt anyone, even people who hurt me. But I also can't stop thinking about how she and Trevor hurt me so deliberately for months while pretending to care about me. They were looking me in the face and lying every single day. How do people do that? I don't know. I honestly don't know what to do now. Edit. So many people are asking if I've spoken to a lawyer about the divorce. Yes, I have. The process is started, but these things take time. I'm trying to get Trevor to agree to sell the house and split the proceeds, but he's being difficult about it. Of course he is. And yes, I've changed all my passwords and gotten a new bank account he can't access. To answer the questions about whether I could get in trouble for having those documents, I spoke with a lawyer about that too, different from my divorce lawyer. They said since Sarah showed them to me voluntarily and I didn't steal them or hack into anything to get them, I should be fine. The bank seems more concerned about the content than how they received the information. For those asking if I've told Sarah's mom what happened, no, I haven't spoken to her family. Sarah and her mom are really close though, so I'm sure she's told her side of the story by now. I'm not ready to deal with that whole aspect yet. Now for the second update. So it's been about 3 weeks since my last post. Some of you were really supportive about me reporting Sarah to her bank, and others thought I went too far. I've honestly gone back and forth myself about whether I did the right thing. But what's done is done, right? I can't exactly unreport financial fraud. And honestly, after what happened when I finally met with her, I don't think I would take it back anyway. So after ignoring like a million calls and texts from Sarah, I wasn't exaggerating in my last post. She literally called me 27 times in 2 days. I finally answered one of her calls last week. She was crying and begging to meet in person. Said she needed to explain some things and that I didn't understand the whole situation. I don't know why I agreed to meet her. Maybe morbid curiosity. Or maybe some sick part of me wanted to see her suffering. God, that sounds awful when I type it out, but I'm trying to be honest here. Anyway, I agreed to meet her at this little coffee shop in a neighborhood neither of us ever goes to. I didn't want to risk running into anyone we know because the last thing I needed was more gossip. When Sarah walked in, I barely recognized her. Her hair was greasy and pulled back in a messy bun. Her eyes were all puffy and red, and she was wearing this Northwestern University sweatshirt we bought together like 8 or 9 years ago during that weekend trip to Chicago. She spotted me and came over, already crying before she even sat down, and I just felt nothing. She thanked me for meeting her and said she didn't think I would. I just shrugged and sipped my drink. She told me she was in serious trouble. The bank had put her on administrative leave pending a full investigation. They were looking at all her accounts and personal banking. She said they were talking about pressing criminal charges and she could go to jail. I just kept sipping my drink and staring at her. She then asked me to call the bank. She wanted me to tell them I misunderstood the documents or that they were just drafts. She kept saying her entire career and life were on the line. I asked why I would help her after what she did. She looked offended and said what happened with Trevor was a mistake that didn't mean anything. She claimed it was just physical and that they were both in bad places and it just happened. I told her things don't happen for 3 months. She admitted she messed up, but kept saying this was her entire career, everything she worked for. She said she could lose everything and face jail time. I asked her about how I lost my marriage and best friend. She kept talking like she didn't even hear me. She said she was just following orders from higher-ups, how they were setting her up, how everyone in banking does this kind of thing. and how she needed the extra money for student loans. I noticed she was getting more desperate as I stayed quiet. After about 10 minutes of her rambling and me barely responding, something in her changed. The tears stopped. Her voice got hard and cold. She said, if I had been a better wife, Trevor wouldn't have gone to her in the first place. I still didn't react, which seemed to make her even angrier. There was a lady at the next table who started gathering her stuff to move away from us. Sarah said, I've always been jealous of her job, her confidence, everything. She claimed I was just using this situation to get back at her because I've always lived in her shadow. She threatened to tell everyone I fabricated the whole thing. She said she would claim I planted those documents because I was jealous and vindictive. She said no one would believe me over her because she has friends at the bank and people respect her there. That's when I finally smiled and pulled out my phone. I told her I'd been recording the entire conversation. Her face completely changed. She stammered that I couldn't do that it was illegal to record someone without their consent. I explained that in this state, only one party needs to consent to a recording. I suggested she keep talking about how she was going to lie about the documents she showed me. She lost it then. She asked if I thought Trevor would take me back now. She said he told her I was boring in bed. She said he told her all my insecurities while they were having sex in our bed. I felt sick learning they had sex in our bed. I thought it was just that one time in the guest bathroom when I caught them, but I managed to stay calm. I told her I'd already filed for divorce from Trevor. I thanked her for the additional material for my recording, noting that admitting to having sex with my husband in my own bed would help my divorce case. She stood up fast, knocking over her chair. She said I would regret this, but her voice was shaky and weak. Then she grabbed her purse and ran out of the coffee shop. I just sat there for like an hour afterward, staring at nothing. About a week after that meeting, I got a call from Thomas Harold, the head of internal investigations at Capital Trust Bank. He thanked me for the evidence and told me that Sarah wasn't the only one involved. They've identified several other employees who were part of this scheme. Apparently, Sarah was about to get a big promotion that would have put her in charge of a larger compliance division. He said Sarah is definitely facing criminal charges and will probably be permanently barred from working in financial services. Part of me felt satisfied hearing that, but another part felt sad. Not for her exactly, but sad that this is what our 15-year friendship came to. Trevor has been trying to get me back. One day, he's sending long, emotional texts about how sorry he is and how he made the biggest mistake of his life. The next day, he's telling me I'm being unreasonable and unforgiving, and that real marriages survive affairs, not him fucking my best friend for 3 months, and in our bed apparently. The divorce is moving forward though. We had the final hearing last week. You should have seen his face when he realized I was actually going through with it. He looked genuinely shocked, like he really believed I would eventually forgive him and take him back. Sarah's mom called me a few days ago. She begged me to reconsider pressing charges against Sarah. I had to explain to her like 3 times that I'm not the one pressing charges. The bank and regulatory authorities are. The fraud was real, regardless of how the evidence came to light. She told me Sarah had to move back to Ohio to live with them because she can't get a job anywhere and has mounting legal bills. Part of me felt bad for her parents. They're actually nice people. But then I remembered Sarah and Trevor in my bed, and any sympathy I had just disappeared. So now I'm just existing, I guess. Still in my tiny apartment with Luna, she says hi to everyone who asked about her in the comments, lol. I'm in therapy, working through all this trust stuff. My therapist says I have PTSD from the betrayal, which actually makes sense when I think about how I still get panic attacks sometimes. I've reconnected with some friends I kind of neglected during my marriage. That's been nice. Kim from work has been amazing through all of this. She's been coming over for wine and bad reality TV nights, which helps distract me. I'm actually considering a job offer in Denver. My company has an office there, and they need someone with my experience. A fresh start in a new city sounds really appealing right now, you know? I'm just not sure if I'm running away from my problems or making a smart move for my mental health. Therapist says it can be both, which is not super helpful, to be honest. I've blocked both Trevor and Sarah on everything, but Sarah still somehow manages to leave voicemails from different numbers. The latest one was just, "I'm sorry for everything. I never meant for it to go this far. please call me back just one more time. I don't know if I should call her back or not. On the one hand, 15 years of friendship is hard to just erase, even after everything she did. On the other hand, what could she possibly say that would make any difference now? And am I just opening myself up to more manipulation if I talk to her again? Anyway, that's where things stand right now. Still processing, still healing, still figuring out what comes next. Thanks for listening to my mess of a life. It actually helps to write it all out, even to a bunch of internet strangers. Edit. So many people are asking if I'm going to take the job in Denver. I haven't decided yet, but I'm leaning toward yes. My lease here is month to month, so I'm not tied down, and Luna is good with change as long as she has her favorite blanket. Yes, I'm that cat lady now. Deal with it. Edit 2. To answer the people asking about the recording, yes, I did actually record the conversation. My lawyer suggested I do this for protection. And yes, I did share parts of it with my divorce attorney. No, I haven't given it to the bank because they haven't asked for it, but I would if they did. For those saying I'm partially responsible for the affair because I was emotionally unavailable or working too much, are you kidding me? Nothing justifies cheating, especially not with your spouse's best friend. If Trevor was unhappy, he could have talked to me or suggested counseling or even asked for a divorce. Instead, he chose to betray me in the worst possible way, and so did Sarah. So please take that victim-blaming nonsense elsewhere. Thanks for all the comments about Luna. Cat tax wasn't requested, but here she is anyway. She's been my emotional support animal through all this, even though she has no idea why I randomly burst into tears while petting her.